Good evening and welcome back to Trial Watch with Demetra. I am Demetra Lit all day, but here in the courtroom setting, I like to go by my official self-proclaimed title of Judge D. Lit. Welcome back to Night Court, LITLANE Jurors. Welcome back to the LITLANE Jury Box. I am streaming simultaneously right now on both the Trial Watch with Demetra channel. Please be watching this live from that channel. I'm also live over on my original channel on LITLANE. I think I'm gonna go live periodic, here and there this first week or even next week as I just try to get both channels up to par. I'm sure you guys understand. Winter, good evening, Al Bailiff. Good evening, the cynical one. Good evening, Tanya McNeil. Good evening, VA Sagittarius. Why y'all go to the Trial Watch with Demetra channel? Okay, especially my LITLANE jury box. Y'all go to Trial Watch with Demetra. Go to Trial Watch with Demetra, please. I will be cutting. Thank you. Hey, Ronnie Q. I will be shutting down LITLANE in 30 minutes. This is just an effort to let people know what we do over on my trial channel. It's kind of a marketing strategy, if you will. Good evening and welcome back. We are on part 4, night 4 of the Georgia versus Miles Bryant kidnapping and murder trial. Okay, out of Georgia. This trial has been one so far that's a little it's very thought-provoking, and let me tell you why. This is a trial against Miles Bryant. Miles Bryant was a very young police officer. Did ROTC all through high school, seemingly on the right track, started his career in the law enforcement, went through the police academy, seeming like he was doing all of the right things. A real stand-up guy, right? Susana Morales, 16 years old, high school sophomore. She might have had a few teenage woes, but she was hardly any type of teen what they call those? What do they call? Hey, Darby, hey, foot soldier, what do we want? She was hardly just this out and out teen rebellious girl. She didn't have a history of running off and running away. She didn't have a history of being caught in the wrong places, doing the wrong things. Yes, she smoked a little marijuana. Yes, she got caught doing that. Her mom, those not even close to it, or true problematic child. She wasn't a delinquent. Thank you, Sean P. And good evening, Katie. Ooh, I can't talk. Hold on. Let me push my love seat up against the couch. Okay? I mean, up against the wall. Jill's comfort zone. Good evening. So Susana Morales came up missing July 26, 2022. She was less than 15 minutes away from her own home at a friend's house, a path she had walked to and from many times. She came up missing on that walk home. Her family searched for her. The community searched for her. Law enforcement searched for her. It wasn't until 196 days later, unfortunately, when her skeletal remains was found in a wooded area, that's when the search stopped. And unfortunately, that's when the murder investigation began. Good evening, watching from Cloud9. Good evening, Tweety. Welcome to the box. Welcome back to the box, the LITLANE jury box. Now, her body was just skeletal remains. There is no proof of cause of death or manner of death, but what was found near the skeletal remains was this gun. This gun was registered to one police officer, Miles Bryant. who coincidentally just so happened to have called in his gun and reported his gun stolen the very same morning that Susana was reported missing officially. Of course, investigation began and ramped up into what was their connection, is their connection, what is the connection, and now Miles Bryant is standing trial for murder and kidnapping of 16-year-old Susana Morales. This content can may be triggering, so please take care of yourself. I am exercising fair usage in order to do a live reaction to this trial. And of course, here in the LITLANE jury box, we pride ourselves for being very participatory. We're very vocal. We're very opinionated. So, of course, feel free to drop down in the chat and become a part of the discussion. What went wrong? How did this happen? Why? Let's get started tonight. We're taking a turn in the hey Peach Cobbler, hey VA said I said hello to you. Good evening. I think I got everybody. Okay, no problem, Peach Cobbler. Now we are again. I'm on both channels. I will be shutting down the Mutual Lit All Day channel in about 15 minutes. I'm hoping just to let people know, expose LITLANE to what we do over here. And you whatever. That's what I'm doing. Okay. So please join us. Go ahead and join us over at Trial Watch with Demetra. All right, let's get started tonight. The testimony is fin to change. We're finna get into the law enforcement. And let me tell you guys, this first officer, have your clinics ready, okay? Have your clinics ready. I believe when I first watched this trial almost a year ago, when it was actually happening, I think I dropped a couple of tears. Okay. All right. So let's get started. Thank y'all for joining me. Please hit the like so you don't have to remember to do so later. Uh-oh. Let's see. The state of Georgia versus Miles Bryant. This is the first law enforcement.
Right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case?
Right, Ronnie Q.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, ma'am. I do.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you, Winter. Thank
Good
you,
morning,
Jill.
sir. Good morning, sir.
Welcome back to the
How are
box.
you? I'm all right.
Could you introduce yourself to the jury and tell us your name?
My name is Lieutenant Xavier Maurice Biggers, badge 1059.
And Lieutenant Biggers, if you could, would you spell your name for the jury?
Yes, it's XAV as in Victor, IER. Biggers, B as in Bravo, IGGERS.
Now, I can obviously see the uniform, and we had a badge number from you. Who do you work for?
I work for Gwinnett County Police Department.
And how long have you worked for the Gwinnett County Police Department?
Just over 18 years.
Now, prior to being employed with Gwinnett County Police, did you have any other law enforcement experience?
Thank you, Ronnie Q.
No, sir.
You are a lieutenant now with the Gwinnett County Police Department. What is your current role with the police department?
My role is to basically supervise the uniform units at the East Precinct, making sure that I'm incident command when there's needed, and supervise the sergeants and the patrolmen that run the shift every day.
Uniform Patrol Division. Give the jury a brief description of what is the Uniform Patrol Division.
The Uniform Patrol Division is basically the officers answering the 911 dispatch calls. A lot of times they're mentoring the children in the community. We do a lot of community affairs events. Their job is to make sure that the laws are being upheld by the citizens of Gwinnett County.
And the Uniform Patrol Division, that's generally the most visible element of the Gwinnett County Police Department, right? The marked vehicles who are driving around on the roadways here in Gwinnett County?
Yes, sir.
Now, you are assigned to the East Precinct. Generally, what area is that?
That's typically Decula, a little bit of Lawrenceville, some of Buford, and a little of the area around Archer High School, before Archer High School off New Point and New Hope Road, and pretty much the country areas of the Gwinnett, which is like Hawk Mountain Road, areas
Welcome
like
back,
that,
Ms. Queenie,
Kilcrest.
98.
How long have you been in this current role out there at the East Precinct?
Just over a year and a half.
Prior to that assignment with Uniform Patrol, what was your previous assignment?
You mean to list them all, or just the last one?
Directly before that.
Oh, I was the sergeant over the Special Victims Unit.
All right. And
Love Blake.
describe for the
Welcome.
jury, what is the Special Victims Unit?
The Special Victims Unit basically investigate crimes against children, sexual assault cases, exploitation of the elderly, and things of that nature.
And how long
Our
were you
Vixen.
part of the, and I think you supervised it as a sergeant, how long were you a supervisor over the Special Victims Unit?
Right at about 3 years.
Now, during July of 2022, when Susana Morales was taken, what was your assignment?
My assignment was just I was the sergeant of the unit. Actually, I was actually the on-call sergeant for that weekend. So I kind of knew what had occurred when the sergeant from the West Precinct had called just to notify me that this had occurred, and every avenue that possibly could have been done on their end, as far as canvassing the area and interviewing people nearby that what had been done. And so I had a sense of what I was going to have to do the next day when I got into work.
So on-call sergeant, what does that mean?
It would basically mean that any instance of a major occurrence, we make the decisions on whether or not the on-call investigators needing to go out to a scene, and also we're almost like more like a supervisor of notification, just in case there are other things that need to be done at a scene.
Can you tell us generally when a missing person report comes in, when somebody files a missing person report, what is the protocol? How does that work at the police department?
Sure. So typically we'll get the missing person report. We gather information on the identity of the person. Typically at that point, it's given to our what is called the assistant administrator, where she will give the family members a call to get more detail, whether that's to get a picture that will be able to assemble out into the public. On top of that, they were just how things go, they want to make sure they got medical records. And then after about, I would say typically when it comes to missing runaways, they typically within the 2 weeks, we typically find them. Just because of just the technology world. But if after 30 days, if the victim is not found, the case is now given to a detective to do more work into trying to figure out what's going on.
So there are numerous different detective divisions of the Gwinnett County Police Department, Special Victims being one of those.
That's a long time, 30 days.
For instance, the homicide unit. Is there a homicide unit in Gwinnett County Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Now, when a homicide occurs in Gwinnett County, are detectives immediately dispatched and start investigating a homicide?
Yes, sir. And in fact, all of them are dispatched.
When it comes to a missing persons report, you mentioned that after about 30 days, at that point, a detective might be assigned to look into it. What's the reasoning for the difference in response on assignment of detectives?
Sure, because we have to determine whether or not foul play has occurred during that time frame. Majority, we average about 50, 60 missing persons runaway reports a month. And typically within the first couple of weeks, they return home. But in order for us to really, truly think that it needs to be work as a person has been abducted or foul play of a criminal act has occurred, we really do need some type of information to go off of, and not literally just go off the fact that they're missing, that something has occurred in that nature.
Sure. In this particular case, I'm going to back up before. As a sergeant of the Special Victims Unit, have you obtained any particularized training in special victims cases?
Yes.
What kind of training have you gone through?
I've gone through Child First. I've gone through investigation how to handle exploitation of the elderly. I've gone through strangulation training, sexual assault trainings, pretty much anything that dealt with crime of sexual assaults.
And without us revisiting your 18-year career, generally, if you know, how many different times, you can ballpark for us, have you been involved in a case of a missing person?
Like truly missing?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I've done several of them, to be honest with you. Even when I was actually the detective as an SVU detective. So I was, you know, I'm pretty mindful of what goes on in those situations. So back in the day, they just immediately used to just automatically sign them. And, you know, you have like 5, 10, 20 missing person reports that you was having to work on all at one time. So I've done my share.
Okay. In this case, walk the jury through, if you can. Just tell us, you mentioned you were the on-call sergeant when Susana's disappearance was reported, but walk us through your involvement. How did you really get involved in the investigation into Susana Morales' disappearance?
Okay. As I said before, I knew that this had occurred. A day later, I got a call from Jasmine. She said that she really wanted to talk with me just to let me know what had occurred, or, you know, what she thinks what may have occurred to her sister. Jasmine and her mother, Miss Guadalupe, and Esmeralda actually came up to the headquarters, and I met with them in our conference room. And you know, Miss Guadalupe doesn't speak a lot of English, so Jasmine translated for her mother, and basically was advised that Susana was going over to Esmeralda house for the during that time frame, but I think later they realized that she did not go to Esmeralda's house, and at that point, her mother, you know, made contact with her to let her know that, you know, you're not supposed to be over at Kelly's house, and that I was on my way to pick you up, and Susana told her, no, don't come pick me up. I'm just going to walk home. And so she walked home, and then Jasmine said that after a while, she realized that Susana had not gotten home yet. And so she pulled up the family's 360 just to see where her whereabouts were. And then it looked that she was walking on to Singleton Road. And then all of a sudden, her GPS basically took off. It showed it going 40 miles per hour the opposite way. And then about 100 yards away, the connection just went away. She really felt adamant that something had happened to Susana. And to be honest with you, every case that we get, a lot of families always say they think something has occurred. And then once we get into the phones and things, we notice that they actually ran away because of the different information that we receive of the phones once we collect the data from the phones when we receive them. And we noted that they has been in touch with their friends, and typically that's how we end up finding them.
Right. And so it sounds like that the overwhelming majority of juvenile runaway cases, it's a case of a child just not wanting to come home.
Yes.
Is that your experience?
Yes.
When you met with the family shortly after her disappearance, was it the next day, or do you know how long?
It was literally 2 days later.
When you met with them, was there anything that stood out about Susana's disappearance that might have been different than a normal juvenile runaway?
Just for me, the anguish and the sadness and the that the mother posed it. I apologize. Sorry, but
Would you like some water?
Here go the Judge H2O.
I have a daughter the same age, and my wife is Hispanic, and it really touched me that I felt that it was my duty to try to find her, because I know that feeling of being a parent and very worried about your child. And I'm very passionate about my job, and I do care about, you know, making sure that, you know, we find these children when something like that happens. And I made sure that I told Jasmine that I will give my all, and to make her feel comfortable, to know that I was going to do my job to try to find her sister, because they were very adamant that their sister had been taken against her will, because she would just not run away. And so I continued doing the investigation, and assigned several detectives to, first of all, I actually got all the friends and names and that Jasmine knew of, that Susana, you know, dealt with. And then I assigned detectives to look into interviewing all of those friends and family members, and making sure that we gathered their phones, so that we were able to do a phone download for their, to check on their records.
And you mentioned that a moment ago too. In an investigation like this, describe to the jury what's the real significance of getting phones from the friends and family members and stuff like that of somebody who's missing?
Yes, because typically when we have that situation, whether the parents cannot get in contact with them, you see the text messages, the phone calls.
Welcome back to the box, Tracy.
That information, when you look at their phone records, to see that there has been some communications between back and forth with the person that is missing, and with people that they feel that they're entrusted in, that would not let anyone know about their disappearance.
So when a kid runs away, it's short. They might tell a friend.
Yes, absolutely.
There's going to, in most of your investigations, are there text messages, phone calls, social media messages between the missing person and some friends and some friend group?
Yes.
In the efforts initially of investigating this case, did the detectives that were assigned, that you assigned to go and talk to the friends, did they obtain phones from the friends?
Sorry. Yes, sir.
Were those phones looked at by the police department?
Yes, they were, sir.
Do you recall whose phones were taken?
I believe Axel's phone was taken, Esmeralda, Kelly, Detective Corporal. Let's see, who else took some other phones. There were some other friends that along the way, I don't remember their actual names, but there were some other friends that names that were actually taken as well. I believe when yeah.
Do you recall a young lady named Alyssa Marvin?
I don't remember. No, okay. I think that came out a little bit later when Corporal Carter took over the investigation and found a lot of that information out.
Did the police department review those phone downloads from the friends?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
In reviewing those, looking for those clues, those messages that oftentimes are there, did the police department locate any messages from Susana to any of her friends indicating where she had gone?
No, sir, and that troubled me, because the fact that the time frame when she went missing at that time, there were no interactions other than people asking, "Hey, where are you?" And there were no interaction back. And typically, in my experience, we usually see that communication going on. And the fact that with so many of her friends that she are involved with, like truly involved with, there were no communication at all on their phone from her. And that troubled me to the point where I felt that I wanted to get homicide involved so that we can treat this in that manner.
I want to ask for your personal involvement in this case. Did you ever, did the police department ever disseminate any kind of flyer or information about Susana's disappearance? Yes,
sir. In fact, that was one of the things that I got done. I actually did what we call it, be on the lookout bulletin. And our PIO actually sent that out so that it was a press release. So her name and photo was actually out there. I know that when I had met with Jasmine and Esmeralda, they really wanted to take it a step further by putting it on social media and actually doing flyers. But I kind of told them not to do that because in my experience of dealing with those type of things, people are very exploited from doing that because people know that they can actually extort them for money by doing that. And well, behold, that ended up happening. And so people will contact Jasmine, but they will always say that they saw Susana like yesterday or something, and they would never leave their name. And I told Jasmine to make sure if they contact you, please make sure they give us a call because she was receiving a humongous amount of intel calls, but no one ever called the police. We never received not one call.
Damn, they didn't receive no calls because they never nobody saw it.
Exploitive
That's right.
behavior. Do you see that commonly when family members or friends start posting their phone numbers and contact information like that?
Yes, absolutely, and that's why I didn't want them to do it. But I did understand the reason why. I mean, I would have done it for my kid too.
Now, when those calls, you said none of those calls came to the police department, but would you be contacted by family members, by Susana's family, to let you know about these types of calls?
Yes, Jasmine called me on a daily basis. I wanted her to call me at any time. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. It didn't matter. I actually neglected my family because I made sure that I went hunting for her, and it meant a lot to me. So,
walk us through a little bit of your efforts.
Let's see. I would anytime any information would come to Jasmine, I would immediately go and look. And obviously it was after the time frame. There were many days where I would check in at work and I would immediately go down to Norcross and just stake out every area possible. I was very driven by it, and I would say more obsessed with the situation that I would even do it on my own time because every time I see my daughter in her face, I saw Jasmine.
Damn, his daughter must look just like Jasmine, child, her sister.
Jury comfort break. The jury's been going. I'm going to give the jury a comfort break. We're going to be adjourned until 5 till 11.
Now, what do we think? You know, it's good to see an officer so passionate, right? And so caring and concerned, but it's kind of like taking me a little bit aback because I'm not insensitive at all, right? But it's like the mom made it through her testimony. The sisters made it through their testimony. Wow. You know, shout out to M. Renee, Lady Steph, Pretty Glow Aesthetics, everyone who be here and be in the clouds. Okay. And at work. Tweety, did I ever say good evening to you? He's going to have to pull it together, okay? And I'm not being insensitive. I'm just like, yeah. Why he say his wife is Hispanic? I wasn't going to even touch on that because I'm pretty sure he's just as dedicated.
Same place as you.
To the little black girls gone missing too. And that's what I'm going to say. Winter girl, did you ever stand up over there in that corner? Shout out to Winter, our bailiff. Yes, indeed. Winter says that's the other side of police work. They are affected sometimes differently because they see and hear some of the most horrible stuff. Right. Hey, Starbell, thank you back for joining us again.
We'll continue with this witness. Go ahead.
And trust me, he cried the first time. I cried the first time with him. Okay.
Lieutenant, I believe we were talking about some of the efforts that you had made in looking for Susana. You had, my recollection was you had said that you would go and to the Norcross area and would sit and kind of stake out. And what kind of areas would you go to?
The hotels that was around off of Beaver Ruin, Jimmy Carter Boulevard. A lot of the stuff I was looking for was like whenever someone would call Jasmine and say, "Hey, I saw her over here," I just added that to my list of places that I would go and stake out. And not only would I do that, I would always take a picture of Susana from our bolo that we made and actually ask people, and I would canvas and I would see if they've seen this child before here or anything of that nature. I went through RV stations that was set up in there just to see. It was just things of that nature because I was just trying to think outside the box just in case something like human trafficking could have occurred or anything. I was just trying to put everything in consideration.
Follow every lead that you could.
Yes.
At some point in your efforts, did you attempt to locate or find any video surveillance that was around the area that might have captured Susana?
Yes. Jasmine has sent me a video, I guess, from Instagram or Facebook, or where it seems that there was a girl that was walking the opposite way on Singleton toward the intersection, and it went right across Checkers. There's a Checkers there, and so I went to try to get that video from them. It's just the way their video system was set up; it didn't have it on there. The owner didn't know how to operate his own system. I actually had when I got a request from our tech unit to go out there and look at it. But by the time we were able to see it, because he was never there, the way his video was recorded, it was only set up to record for like 2 weeks. So I actually went down the street on that same sidewalk.
Welcome back, Miss
A storage facility there. Unfortunately, the sidewalk is up here and the storage facility is a little bit down. And so me and the owner of that place went through the time frame and just to see if we saw maybe her walking across, because you would have to cross that in order to go home.
And were you successful in finding any video footage?
No, sir.
Those locations that you're talking about, I'm going to show you here on this map, just so we can have can you tell where generally we're talking about here? Exhibit 32.
This lawyer love this map.
I'll turn it back here just so we can all see, and I'll just hold it here. Okay. But where are those locations generally that you're talking about? This is Santa Ana Drive here, okay, and Susana's home. So you would go out here. I believe that's where the Checkers is located at, right there. In fact, it's right there. There's some other shopping center that's right there. There's a shopping center that has like a Hispanic supermarket that's right there as well. I checked those as well. They didn't have anything either. And then this is where the storage facility is located here, actually. Okay, so you were looking in those on both sides of Singleton Road for video footage. Yes. That based on the fact that she was walking down Singleton Road back towards her house. Yes. Okay. Does the Gwinnett County Police Department have and operate drones?
We do, but I don't think at that time we had that type of. We didn't have that. I don't think. Okay. Yes.
Do you recall any drones being put up to look through areas for Susana?
Yes, there were. I guess Detective Carter was able to get some data from some phones that made them think that it was in the vicinity of, and I think it's considered Duluth in that area, at some apartment complex, and had them do that technique there.
Okay, but you weren't involved with that?
I was not involved with that, yes, sir.
Now, in all of
Thank you for the cash app. I started looking to see what I misspelled, child.
Let me ask, to get an idea, your efforts in looking for Susana. If she disappeared on July 26th, 2022, how long did you continuously look for her?
For a good, I actually continued until the day her remains were found, actually.
Now, I mean, obviously you have a job to do and other people to supervise, but how often would you go out and look during that period of time of her missing?
So I typically went into the office to get my regular work done, and I immediately went out. I would also just, I couldn't get enough of it. Like I said, I mean, I would see my daughter in her face, and the first thing I thought of was Susana. And so it was driving me to find her, because I mentally was telling myself that we were going to find her. I would go on my off days. I could remember going on Thanksgiving Eve and just hanging out, and just because it invited me so much that it overwhelmed me to the point where I didn't want to do anything else but to do that. Like I said, I neglected my family because I would get up I couldn't sleep, and it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning. I would just get up and just go down and just look.
A lot of effort on your part, a lot of investigation that you led. In all of that investigation, did you locate any evidence whatsoever that led to the discovery of Susana's body?
No.
Did you find any evidence of where she had gone or what had happened to her?
No.
The investigation after she disappeared, were you essentially the lead investigator for the police department on it at that time?
It was just because of the matter of how we do our investigation when it comes to missing persons. I didn't want it to wait that long for it to be assigned to a detective, just because we do have that buffer of time to see about, especially if we don't know if there's been a criminal crime that has occurred to the person, or if we don't have information to lead a reasonable person to think that that person was taken against their will. So I ensured Jasmine, when I spoke with her and her mother, that I've taken on this on a personal level, just because I understood that I've been part of the Hispanic culture for over 30 years. And it meant a lot to me because my wife is Hispanic.
So normally you would wait 30 days for a detective to get assigned, but in this particular case, you assigned it to yourself as the sergeant over the SBU unit almost immediately after it happened.
Yes, sir. And then I started disseminating details for several different detectives to do this, to do this, to do this, to do that. A lot of the back behind the scene work, I let them take care of that, and then I would do a lot of these canvassing and searching myself. I ended up getting one of the deputies. I spoke to a former police officer that works for the Sheriff Department, Gwinnett County Sheriff Department, which is Lieutenant Nelson. And he is basically an expert at working cases of trafficking, human trafficking. And even with him doing the details of looking for every possible things, and he's been a very inspirational person.
Girl, I was about to say that, but I'm letting him talk.
He didn't see anything going on, and that actually what deterred me, what scared me to think that it was more, that she was not going to be here.
Okay, so I'm not going to get on a soapbox at this moment, but I was waiting for a good pause in place. I get it. You know what I'm saying? And I can appreciate his dedication. But what I'm not appreciating is the fact that he keep saying about the fact that the girl was Hispanic and he got some biracial Hispanic children. He got a Hispanic wife. So it because of his over emphasizing of that, it does nothing but make me wonder. And now I'm wondering out loud, would he have been so touched about a little black girl being missing, a little Caucasian girl being missing, a little Puerto Rican girl being missing? You know what I'm saying? Now we want to think the best, but he ran me out. Now, Pete Cobbler says, but do we really believe him? And she was referring to him saying all the off-duty work he was doing, the fact that he was waking up out of his sleep. Do we really believe that? Winter says some police/detectives become very much so consumed with certain cases, which is true. We watch true crime. We know that to be true, right? Peach Cobbler say, of course, nobody will go on the stand and admit they did not search every day. Miss Steph 219 say, wow. Now, I said, that's an interesting point of view, Peach. The police did take a huge hit with public relations once it was found out that the perpetrator of this crime was a policeman. Okay? When the community found out a police officer had done this, you know the police department caught hell. So, is he putting 20 on 10 in order to show that the police was dedicated, that the police care? So Peach Cobbler say he lying. Peach Cobbler say nope. Foot Soldier say he biased. Sean P say that's what you mean by that's odd. That's odd. Yeah, right. That's odd. It is odd that he keeps saying that. Miss Steph 219, he sound biased. Sean P say, I believe him. I believe that he did go out, and I believe he was absolutely touched by this. I kind of don't like his biasness to it, but hey, I think Susana must really look like his daughter. I think the girl has a real resemblance to his daughter, the way he's so invested. He can't be like that on every case. Right. I think that Susana probably looked just like his daughter, for real. Because Susana looked like she mixed. And on another picture with her hair loose, she like she black and Hispanic. Right there, she look a little black and Hispanic. You know? And he keeps saying, you know, when he looked at his daughter, he sees Susana. You know? I believe him. And they the same age, same place. Hell, since I've been watching this, my son wanted to ride his bike earlier this afternoon to his friend's house. And I'm like, no, not today, son. You know, wait till the weekend when I'm here, a car here, and just in case. No. I dated a police officer, and it's their job to, by any means, protect the police department, whatever it takes. Yeah, and that's what we want from these officers. You know? Nah, I think it was personal for him, if only for the reasons he keeps stating. Okay. Right. Okay. I agree. Same age. Okay. Dang, I should let my son ride his bike down to his friend's house so I could test it out my new Life 360 app. But no, he'll do that on the weekends. Okay. Let's continue. Great conversation.
At what point did the investigation get turned over to somebody else?
At the point when we looked at the phones.
Oh, wait a minute.
And saw there were.
Hold on. Okay. Let's take this differently. I dated a police officer, and it's their job to, by any means, lie to protect the police department, whatever it takes. Well, damn, that takes on a whole different meaning. Okay. Well, damn. Don't give up the department secrets, girl.
No communication. We realized that we needed to get an expertise of a homicide person, and no one is better at doing that than Corporal Carter, because she's very determined.
The individuals who are part of the SVU unit, your detectives that you supervise, was Corporal Conway one of those detectives?
Yes.
Throughout your investigation, your side of doing things, was he one of the individuals that you were tasked with looking at things and doing things?
Yes, he was very good at doing that. And so he understood the urgency of when I give him something to make sure that get done. So,
as a superior officer, you were the supervisor, and Corporal Conway and others with the SVU unit did things on your behalf.
Yes.
Now, I want to take you a little bit further on. February 6th, 2023. Were you made aware that the police department had located Susana's remains?
Yes, Corporal Carter gave me a call and let me know.
Did you participate in being out there on scene there where her remains were located?
No.
Now, after that, did you participate in executing any search warrants related to the defendant in this case?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right, and what did you participate in?
I went in there just to help out with his superiors at the other police department had came to gather their equipment and everything.
Let me back you up.
Yes.
Just here for a second. What did you participate in searching?
Oh, I helped participate in searching for his equipment that was owed to Dorville
Where was that at?
at the apartment of the defendant.
Okay, his house.
His house, yes,
Okay.
sir.
The Gwinnett County Police Department, did y'all execute a search warrant at the defendant's home?
Yes.
And
Okay, here we go.
was that the day that he was arrested?
Yes, sir.
All right, February 13th of 2023. Does that sound?
That sounds about right. Yes, sir.
And his apartment, where was it located?
It's located in Norcross, and to be honest with you, it's just right on the other side of the fence of the victim.
All right, I'm going to show you what's previously been admitted to State Exhibits 34 and 35. And if you could go ahead and publish State Exhibit number 34, please. And if you have it on the screen, I also have the paper copy here. Wait for it to be on the screen so we can see. All right, this photograph, State Exhibit number 34, where the red location icon is, where is that location?
That's where Susana Morales reside with her mother.
That's their home?
That's their home, yes, sir.
In this photograph, can you see where the defendant lived?
Yes, sir.
All right, and I have, because the screen is a little bit high and far, I now have a pointer, make it a little bit easier. If you wouldn't mind.
I said he needed a pointer. He must have heard me.
Show the jury where the defendant lived. Take a look right here.
On the second floor to the left. When you walk up the staircase here, go to the left and into the apartments right there.
Okay, so this building that you pointed at, does his apartment occupy this left top side here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you were, I'll take it.
Damn, he can look out over his balcony and see her building. Basically.
When you participated in the execution of the search warrant, was it at that location?
Yes, sir, it was.
Have you ever visited Susana's home?
Multiple times, like a lot of times, yes.
I don't need an exact measurement in feet and inches, but give the jury an idea. How far apart are these two locations, the defendant's apartment and Susana's home?
About a football field length.
Okay. Now, you've been there. Are you able, from the defendant's apartment, to see Susana's home?
Yes. When you look at this photo, you see there's a lot of shrubbery and trees and stuff. But when we was actually there in February, obviously the autumn of the leaves actually fall down. So you have much more of a clear cut look looking over that 4-foot fence during that time frame.
And you, from his apartment, could see Susana's home?
Yes, I actually saw Susana home as I parked in the drive in the parking lot, because part of the parking lot has an elevation to it. And as I got out of the car, I had already been looking anyway just to see the comparison between when I was always driving by their home, and I could always see that apartment. So.
That is so creepy.
I think those are all the questions that I have for you, Lieutenant Biggers. Ms. Drake, I may have some for you.
Yes, sir.
I just have a couple of questions for you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Lieutenant, we were making sure I didn't say sergeant before trial. During your investigation, did you find out whether or not Susana was having trouble going to school on a consistent basis?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Were you aware of why she had been suspended?
Judge, I'm going to object this to relevance.
Your Honor, I believe her mother has already testified that she had been suspended, so I'm just asking this officer if he knows why.
And I'll object on hearsay grounds.
Hearsay is admissible in furtherance of the investigation. I'm just trying to find out what he.
I'm gonna,
She keeps trying to character
No,
assassinate the
believe that.
victim. It don't
You
matter
did
if
see
she
a
was
social
true it
media
every day.
post that caused
Damn.
you some concern. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you generally tell us what that social media post was?
It was just a post of her she just put like a little, saying about life, and it just concerned me because it just felt like if she was depressed or something.
And when you looked out of the window and you could see Susana's house, you stated that was in February, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so all the leaves would be off those trees.
Yes, ma'am.
So back in June, July, all of those trees would be full with leaves.
I'm assuming. I'm sorry. I can't say factually that's that because I have never visited that area at that time frame.
Okay, well, when you first went to Susana's house, were the leaves on the trees around their house?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that's all I have, thank you, sir.
Briefly, the social media posts that you're discussing, do you remember what it said?
I couldn't remember what it said. It was like maybe like a 3-liner something, and even people that was commenting on it, they thought that she was sad. So it didn't come out and say like I'm depressed or anything like that, but people just said, hey, you need something, or
Yeah. And do you have any idea when that post was made?
It was probably a couple of weeks prior to her disappearance.
And when you read it, anything about that post that was significantly different than what young teenage girls might otherwise make?
It's the same.
I'm going to object. You can't speculate as to what other teenage girls may or may not put on their social media.
I'll rephrase the question.
okay.
That's not a problem. As it relates to the post, she wasn't threatening to harm herself in any way, was she?
No, I don't think that the post had anything to do with that. It was, just more of a moment of sadness that you have your ups and downs on posts. That's why people want to know about your life on internet. Today you was feeling blue. Tomorrow I'm happy as I don't know what. So
your job as the investigator, document everything, right?
yes, sir. Absolutely.
You're not sure when you're investigating what might be relevant, what might not be relevant.
Right.
As you got into this investigation, though, did you find that social media post had any real relevance to her disappearance?
No.
Go to the questions.
Okay. Maybe release this witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Judge, I do want to apologize for my emotion breakdown.
If you don't take your, no, I'm kidding. This defense attorney is going to have to come up with some type of better strategy than trying to character assassinate the 60-year-old murder victim of her client. Because mind you, during opening statements, the defense attorney acknowledged that he did have something to do with this murder. Okay. She said what she said, baby, she gonna have to come up with something different, something a little bit better than that, for real.
Good morning. Right up to
Good morning. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you got?
I ain't gonna pause no more for about 15 minutes. Y'all, check out Winter. Winter over there doing the same thing she doing in the LITLANE jury box, recklessly eyeballing everybody. Look at Winter eyeballing them people. Hold on. Wait a minute. Y'all, hold up.
Good morning. Right up to
Look at Winter eyeballing folks. That's just how Winter be in the jury box putting them eyeballs on y'all. Okay, that's exactly how Winter be doing. When Winter put them eyeballs on you, she be talking about better shape up. You better lay low. Okay, back to the trial.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Thank you. Please be seated, sir.
Good morning, Corporal. Can you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Corporal Matthew Conway. I work for the Gwinnett County Police Department.
And Corporal Conway, can you spell your last name?
Yes, it's Conway.
Thank you. And how long have you worked for the Gwinnett County Police Department?
A little over 9 years.
And what is your current position with the police department?
I'm an investigator with the Special Victims Unit.
Tell us what the Special Victims Unit does.
The Special Victims Unit, our primary goals are to work runaway or missing juvenile cases. We work cruelty to children cases, and then sex crimes, all sex crimes, child molestation, rape, child pornography, stuff like that. And we also work crimes against elders.
And how many years have you been with Special Victims?
I've been on the Special Victims Unit for 5 years.
And Corporal, are you post-certified?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell the jury what post-certification is?
Yes. To be post-certified in the state of Georgia, you have to go through a mandated academy. I believe it's approximately 400 academy hours. For our police department, it was about 26 weeks. So we did the basic mandate academy and then an additional advanced academy. But you have to be post-certified through the mandated academy to be a peace officer in the state of Georgia.
And did you successfully complete that academy?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have full arrest powers?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had those full arrest powers your full 9 years with the Gwinnett County Police Department?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any other law enforcement experience besides working for Gwinnett?
No, ma'am.
And Corporal, are you familiar with the Susana Morales case?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first get involved with that case?
It would have been around mid-September of, I want to say 2022.
Okay. And when you were around that time in mid-September of 2022, who was your supervisor at that time?
Sergeant Xavier Biggers.
And was Sergeant Biggers also working that case with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And at what point at some point, did you get appointed to be the lead detective on that case?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
That was January of the same year.
So from
Or, I'm sorry, of 2023.
Okay, so from September 22 to January 2023, what were you doing to assist in the investigation to find Susana?
At that point, I had just come off of light duty from a heart attack. So Sergeant Biggers at the time asked me
Heart
if I
attack.
could assist on following up on tips, or if he received any information that could have potential leads, he would send that in my direction, and I would follow up on it.
Based on your training and experience as an SVU detective, what was different about Susana's case compared to other runaways?
Typically with runaway juveniles, they have close friends or family. Usually, if they don't tell somebody where they're going, there's going to be some form of communication to a family friend or a close friend. Nowadays, most juveniles have some form of social media, and even when they run away, there's going to be some kind of activity through either their cell phone or on their social media accounts.
And did you check that to see if there was any activity on Susana's social media account or phone?
Yes, Jasmine, Susana's sister, provided the T-Mobile phone records to Sergeant Biggers, and he gave that to me, and it showed when the messages and phone calls stopped. And then we were provided with her Instagram information, and there was no activity on any of her social media accounts.
In addition to looking at the phone records, did you receive or review any Life 360 records or documentation?
Yes.
Tell us what those records showed.
So the Life 360 records showed that Susana was leaving the apartment complex that she was in, walking towards her home. And then all of a sudden she changed directions in the opposite direction, going down the road at about 40 miles per hour. And there was a crash alert to indicate a suspected vehicle crash.
And based on your investigation, in looking at the phone records and talking to people, did you determine that to be suspicious?
Absolutely, yes.
During your investigation, did you learn that Susana had smoked marijuana?
Yes.
Did you consider that as part of why this was suspicious?
No.
You talked about you said you got some tips that were received that Lieutenant Biggers, at that time, Sergeant Biggers, directed you to look into. About how many tips do you think that you looked into yourself?
There were several. I know I documented any tips that we would drive out to somewhere for. I know one came in, a friend of and a prior investigator from the DA's office reached out from Detroit about possibly sighting her at a casino that didn't lead anywhere. Somebody at Pigeon Forge thought they saw something that didn't lead anywhere. We got information that she might have been in an apartment in, I want to say Peachtree Corners. I went out to the apartment, identified the female there. That wasn't it. There was a good bit of tips that came to us, but the majority of them went to the family and weren't reported to the police.
And all of those tips and those different locations that you looked at and investigated, were any of those tips fruitful?
None.
You said some tips came to the family. Did you find in your investigation any attempts to get money from the family?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So the family had created like their own post that was like, hey, if you know anything about Susana, reach out to this phone number and contact us. We told the family that wasn't a good idea because historically when families post their own numbers and information looking for tips, there's a lot of people out there that use that as an opportunity to extort the family that's in need. Specifically, I know I talked to Susana's boyfriend at the time who said they received a ransom tip and they went out and looked into that. And I believe the family had received several ransom tips, which is specifically why we wanted the tips to come in through the police department. So it'd be directly to us and it would negate all of the extortion that comes along with posting your own tip line.
The tips that came to the family, did any of those find any evidence relevant to help us locate Susana?
No, ma'am.
Yourself, did you canvass any locations did you go out to?
Yes.
Which location did you search?
With the Life 360 app, it showed Susana's last location where the vehicle crash was near an apartment condo complex off Oak Lock Trace.
Yes.
So because of that, the idea was, well, we check that area to see if maybe we might locate her in a ditch or in the woods or her cell phone, something to that nature. So we went out, we checked, ran basically every vehicle tag we could in that area. We went and I took several members of the unit and we canvassed the entire wooded area, basically from Oak Lock Trace all the way down to the high school. And we checked under the bridges. We checked all of that area extensively.
Did you find any evidence relevant to what happened to Susana at that time?
Unfortunately, no.
And that location in Oak Lock Trace, is that in Gwinnett County?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you talk to any people in that area, to any residents or neighbors or anything?
Yeah, we would like knock on doors and talk to people. I know in the wooded area, there was a homeless encampment that we checked on a gentleman there who said that he had seen some Hispanic females recently in the area going towards the school. And it was a common cut through that kids would take to get to the high school, but nothing relevant from that.
At any point, did you use metal detectors as part of your investigation?
Yes, we did.
Tell us about that.
We took out metal detectors and we walked the area where the crash alert came from to try to see if, because of the delay in time and the weather and all that, to see if we might be able to locate a cell phone if it was like a little bit under the brush or had been gone under the mud or whatever over time through the rain and all that, but we didn't locate anything.
Did you locate any clothing or any other personal items for young females?
No, ma'am.
As part of your search, did you at some point use drones or a helicopter?
Yes.
Tell us about the aerial searches.
We requested that our Air One, our helicopter unit, conduct aerial searches to photographs. I believe they used a FLIR camera as well, which that can pick up like heat signatures. Sometimes if we have a case with like a very acute runaway, like, hey, there's like a 5-year-old autistic child that just went missing. We know they're in the area. We'll see if Air One weather dependent can fly over with the FLIR because it can pick up heat signatures. And there's a possibility, like if there's a kid in the woods laying down, we could see that heat signature.
Okay. So how many times did you do the helicopter?
I believe from what I wrote down, we requested it once.
Okay. And then you said also drones?
Yes, I believe so. We've put in those requests.
Okay. And was anything found during those aerial searches?
No, ma'am.
Did you do any interviews in connection to finding Susana?
I did several interviews.
Did you talk to Axel Zaragoza, Susana's boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you learn was the last contact that Axel had with Susana?
Axel has spoken to Susana the night she went missing.
And do you know about what time that was?
He said he started talking to her around 3 p.m. that day. She told her that she was getting ready to go over to Kelly's. And then he had FaceTimed her several times throughout that afternoon. I believe she got there, I want to say he said she was there around later in the afternoon because he talked to her at 3. Around 8:30, she had FaceTimed him. He said she was changing out her some of her piercings. And then closer to the end of the night, she had told him that she was headed home.
Did Axel tell you if he had heard from Susana after that?
He said,
I'm going to object. It's cumulative evidence at this point. The young man's already testified to all of this in person.
I can move on her. Your interview with Mr. Zaragoza, did Axel tell you anything that was suspicious?
no.
Did you also search his phone?
Yes.
Did you find any evidence that was suspicious that would help you lead to locating Susana?
No, everything on his phone corroborated what he told me in his testimony.
Did you also speak to Kelly Bagata?
Yes, ma'am.
And did she tell you when the last time she saw Susana?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that consistent with the other statements you received from Axel as well as Susana's family?
That's correct.
And did you search Kelly's phone?
I did.
Did you find anything suspicious on that?
No.
Or anything relevant to locate Susana?
No, everything on her phone matched with what she said and showed that she was a concerned friend.
And was Kelly's statement consistent with Axel's statement as to the last communications with Susana?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you also speak to Esmeralda Castilla?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get a phone from Esmeralda?
I did.
And did you search Esmeralda's phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you find anything suspicious on Esmeralda's phone?
I did not.
Did you find anything on Esmeralda's phone that would be relevant to help locate Susana?
Not with locating her, no.
Was Esmeralda's statements consistent with the statements you received from Axel and Kelly and Susana's family?
Yes, ma'am.
Who else did you speak to?
I spoke to Axel, Kelly, Esmeralda. I sent detectives to speak to Alyssa.
Did you also get a phone from Alyssa, Marvin?
Yes,
And did you search Alyssa's phone?
I did.
And all of these, Axel, Kelly, Esmeralda, and Alyssa, they all agreed to allow you to search their phones.
Yes.
Did you find anything suspicious on Alyssa's phone?
No, ma'am.
Anything that helped you to locate Susana?
No, ma'am.
And did all of the information you saw on Alyssa's phone, was that all consistent with what you saw on Kelly's phone, Axel's phone, and Esmeralda's phone?
Yes.
Did you do any searches on social media?
We checked everybody's social media account we would look into to see if there's any activity. I know we reviewed one of Kelly's TikTok videos where she was posting that she was upset for not walking Susana all the way home.
And was that consistent with all the statements you had received from the friends about what happened that night to Susana?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any other steps as part of the investigation to locate Susana?
My steps were I submitted a photo of Susana as well to one of our crime and intel analysts to run through some facial recognition software that runs it against known prostitution websites to see if maybe she had posted an ad, something like that, because she's a juvenile female. That didn't result in anything. I conducted the interviews. I went through all of the phone exams. I had somebody get the information for Life 360 from Kaya, which was the friend that initially sent the Life 360 information to Esma.
And did you also at some point get dental records?
Yes.
Tell us why you get dental records.
So when it comes to a missing juvenile, we always try to obtain some form of DNA if we can, and dental records on the chance that down the road, if we aren't able to locate them and we do end up finding a body, we can compare dental records or DNA to the body to determine if that is going to be the missing person.
Do you know where you got those dental records from?
I believe Vital Smiles was the one I went to. There was 2 dentists. Her childhood dentist was, I believe, Vital Smiles, and then there's Happy Smiles, I believe, was her current dentist. We tried the current one; it was closed. So then we went to the other dentist, so we had something. And then detectives were able to keep going back to the current dentist, and were able to obtain those records.
At any time in your investigation, did you find any signs to locate her?
No.
At what point did you get off of the case?
So I was lead up until the body was discovered with the firearm. At that point, homicide took over the investigation. I still assisted in a search warrant at Mr. Bryant's residence. But from that point, it was no longer my investigation, it was a homicide investigation.
And your role in searching at the residence, tell us what you did at the residence.
I met with the homicide detectives there. I helped to secure the residence, and then I searched Mr. Bryant's bedroom with Detective Carter.
What y'all find there?
I have no other questions for you. Thank you, Mr.
Oh, there, why? Oh, Detective Carter probably gonna talk about it.
Okay,
Thank you.
may we release this witness?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you're excused, thank you. Let's take call's next witness.
Clinical Officer Stephen Breyer.
Were you working days or nights?
Days.
Days, all right. Did you receive a call that day or a dispatch to respond to the finding of human remains?
Yes.
Where was that? Where did the call tell you to go? Where were you going?
It told me to go between 2 roads on 316,
Okay.
going eastbound, or going towards was that Barrow County? I think going outside and going out. Yeah.
All right. You headed towards Athens?
Yes.
Okay. So, and what was the information, if you recall, that you received about that call, that dispatch?
From what I remember, it was dispatched as a suspicious activity call, saying that a random person had found what he believed was human remains off of in the woods off of 316.
That day, were you riding with the field training officer, the supervisor who was teaching you the ropes?
Yes.
Okay. Did y'all respond to that location, to the location on 316?
Yes.
And may I approach the witness, John?
I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 12. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
All right, can you tell us what it is?
It's a disc that says Exhibit 12, Officer Breyer body worn camera.
All right. Have you reviewed your body worn camera from that day?
Yes.
All right, and have you viewed it on this disc?
Yes.
Is what's contained on this disc a fair and accurate copy of the video recorded by your body worn camera on February 6th of 2023 as it relates to the dispatch of the suspicious activity of the remains?
Yes.
Judge, I move to admit State's Exhibit 12.
No objection.
State's Exhibit 12 is admitted without objection.
How does you explain to the jury, the Gwinnett County Police Department, are you guys equipped with body worn cameras?
Yes.
How do they work?
So the body worn camera can be operated either manually, as in I can turn it on, but we have recently updated. So like if you turn on the taser, pull out your weapon, it can also activate that way too. And some models have, if you turn on your your lights on your car, they'll turn on your body worn camera too.
Okay. Do you know back in February 6th of 2000, on this date, how your body worn camera was activated?
I manually activated it.
Manually activated. And what is the policy of the Gwinnett County Police Department when it comes to activating the body worn camera?
At any time we interact with the public, it will be turned on.
All right. And obviously you're in field training at that time, and you've got the supervisor in the car, so you activated it when you got to the scene?
Yes.
All right. What did you encounter? What did you see when you first got to the area?
It was dusk, heavily wooded. There was the caller who called 911, his car, I don't remember the make model of the car, just parked on the side of the road down in an embankment. The woods probably started 20 feet away from 316. We met in the little grassy area between the woods and 316. He had told us what he had found.
All right. And so the caller, you spoke with the caller once you got there on scene.
Yes.
And from there, after speaking with him, what did you do?
He said he remembered where the remains were, and he was going to show us, and we followed him into the woods to find the remains.
And ultimately, did you find what you believed to be human remains?
Yes.
All right, Judge, can I publish State Exhibit number 12?
Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the jury. This is going to be a video. If you cannot see it or hear it, usually there'll be a silent part in the beginning. When it starts, there won't be audio, but if you can't see or hear it, let me know and we'll make arrangements.
And the judge has astutely pointed out something I wanted to ask you. When you activate your body-worn camera, how long does it take for the audio to come on?
30 seconds.
All right. So in this body-worn camera footage, in the first 30 seconds of it, is there any audio?
No.
And is that normal whenever you activate your body-worn camera?
Yes.
All right. Go ahead.
And officer, you have and do you need, there's water if you need.
Oh, thank you.
It's funny how they find these bodies all off in the, in weird places, just somebody off the beaten path. When I went walk by the bayou the other day, I would not look down that bayou. I do not want to find the body, okay?
And 10, 7. No, bro. I promise I'm not for you, bro.
That's why you turn your rear view.
Sorry. That's shit. Oh, it's going. How are you doing?
I'm good. Just that way, a little walk. It's just a couple hundred yards.
Can you show us?
Sure.
So what brings you out here?
Honestly, I just saw the little road on the side of 316. I've just been out piddling, exploring.
Kind of reminds me of one of those mud and rail trails or something, you know?
Well, I mean, it's dead ends. And I was leaving, and my sister called. My mom's in the hospital, so I was talking to her, and I can't hear in that. So I just started walking in a circle.
Okay.
And stumbled on it. So it's all been here for a while.
Let's go. You know, did I stay for a walk in the woods? Is it off like this road, or is it a little ways off?
Go right up over here. There's a pile of grass.
Who walks that deep off into the woods just off the side of the road?
What do y'all do something like this? Well, we gotta send it to the medical center to figure out who they are. Really? If it isn't,
Well, it's definitely first. But, I mean,
yeah, well,
I understand.
I mean,
3:30 Alpha
the medical degree is gonna have to examine.
Sure. All right, well, we can test the road. We'll go get out.
Oh, good luck.
This is not real.
313 Alpha Go.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
313 Alpha Go.
Appreciate it. No problem. Oh, sorry, I got all this stuff on, so.
Exactly, for soldier, right? Like, damn, where his body at? That's so weird that he walked that deep off into the woods.
Like I said, this has been here for a while. And there's more. I walked straight that way, and there's a few more over there. 430 or 410. We'll go ahead, just move back a little bit. We'll have to close it off anyhow. All right. You order 59, looks like we got 40 woods. Can I get your information? Yeah, it's what's your first name? Matthew.
So you know they had to
There's,
investigate
like I said,
him.
like right over there is the other hip, and
What's your last name?
Gilbert, Gilbert.
And then what's your date of birth?
6/10/76.
Damn, he identifying the bone parts and everything. Talking about the other part is the hip.
6165.
All right.
I don't know why it's flashing.
And then is the address you live at current to what's on your vehicle?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sure is. Well, if you just want to step back a little bit, we're going to see how far we got to cordon this off. I got some tape in the back of my car, too.
He'll do it. That way we can.
They should have brought the tape with them.
Oh, I need to get my phone. I can take pictures.
Once you get tape, we can.
Okay.
And do it.
Is this guy free to go? Or?
Yeah, I mean, unless you guys 39 minutes.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do.
A 28 by name, 28 or 27, 29 by database?
Yeah, just go over there and do it.
434 the radio.
434.
1027, 29 by name and date of birth. Last name's going to be Gilbert. Golf India Lima Bravo Echo Romeo Tango. First name Matthew. Common spelling.
Exactly. So I
Date of birth
never.
is 1976.
And remember, she went missing.
10.
She went missing July 26th in the summertime. They found her body February 6th, 7th, something like that. You know, so it had been went through the winter and everything.
Just for the record, I'm pausing this at 6 minutes and 56 seconds into the video. Shows on the video itself, shows it at 2,259 hours and 42 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, because they were some just patrol officers. They didn't even know what to do.
Just go over a few things here with you. First of all, I just called out a time of 2,200 hours, 58 minutes. I know military time, so I know that's 10:58 p.m. in military time. But it appears to me that does not appear to be the actual time that you are present there on the scene. Can you tell us what's going on with the time in the video?
Just however, the IT guys who set up the body-worn camera, they just never updated the time in the system.
Okay, so what time is it actually?
That's very lazy.
I believe it was close to 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay. Now, are you familiar with Universal Coordinated Time or UTC time?
Just briefly.
Okay. Do you have any idea how, did you know that your body cameras are actually calibrated in UTC time?
I did, but I don't know the conversion.
Okay. All right. So there is a conversion to convert it back to Eastern time, to the time that you're there. You're just not sure what it is.
Yes.
Okay. what's important here is that it's not 10:58 at night.
Yes.
Okay. Now, there's a lot more to the video here, but I kind of want you just to tell us, when you got out there after finding, when you found the remains, did they appear to be human remains to you?
Yes.
And what was obvious about that to you?
It just stood out. You see fake Halloween decoration, skeletons, but these did not look plasticky or altered or anything like that. The first thing that came to mind was they were human.
In that instance, when this happened, what did you guys do? You and your supervisor was there, and it appears there was one other officer there. What did you guys do at that point when you found these?
So we knew that obviously it was a crime scene, so we were going to go cordon off the area with crime scene tape. I believe that's what the other officer was doing, walking back to his car to get some tape, and that's why I had mentioned to my other officer, I have some tape in my back of the car too to cordon off the area. We stayed to make sure that Mr. Gilbert, who was still there, wouldn't. We stayed to preserve the crime scene at that point.
Sure. And of course, why is that important? Explain to the jury why you do that.
Well, evidence tampering.
Right. Don't want anybody to either intentionally or inadvertently mess up a crime scene.
Yes.
The crime scene tape, do you use that to affect that purpose, to make sure that nobody crosses it and accidentally or purposely does anything to it?
Yes.
Once you found these remains, did y'all end up putting up crime scene tape around the area?
Yes.
And how long were you out there on scene that evening, if you know?
I don't recall. I know we weren't out there more than like an hour because it was a shift change. We got relief from the nighttime officers to relieve us.
Okay. When did your shift switch over?
I believe it was
6 p.m.
6:30, I think.
Or 6:30. Okay. So this was shortly before the end of your shift.
Yes.
All right. And then by the time you left, had anybody else shown up?
Yes.
And who was that had shown up by the time you left?
Just other nighttime precinct officers. I don't remember their names.
Okay. Was the homicide unit notified?
Then, based on protocol, I'm sure they were. Again, I wasn't there when they did it.
Understood. After you left the scene that night, on that day, February 6th, was that kind of the end of your involvement on that day?
No.
Okay. What else did you do?
The very next day, because you can see in the video, it's dusk, it's nighttime coming. The next day they were going to do a
The
search
OCM has arrived. Hey,
anything
living.
that had missed.
Official court mediator, living my best life, OG.
What a grid search is.
You take specific areas of the crime scene, and I believe for the next day we did just a normal lateral where we just lined up and just walked straight. Got to a certain point, would either go left, go right, or turn back around to try to find anything you missed.
So in terms of, you said you just line up laterally. So a whole bunch of people get in a line side by side and just walk through a crime scene?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Correction. Outside the bounds of the crime scene tape. Because I believe when we got there the next day, the MEs were still working, doing ME things at the crime scene. So we did the search around the crime scene tape, I believe.
And you used a term that I immediately recognized, but I want to make sure. You said ME.
Medical examiner.
Medical examiner. So the next day, February 7th.
Living, they just found the body in the woods.
Whenever you were out there the next day?
It was early, prior 7, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. And then were you a part of the grid search that occurred that day?
Yes.
And you started looking for?
Whatever you can find.
Whatever you can find. Were you told anything specific to look for, or you're just looking for anything that looks like it might be out of place?
Anything that could be out of place.
Okay. Was anything discovered during that grid search?
But yes, discovered a firearm.
All right.
Boom, they found it the next
morning. Do you recall what kind of firearm it was?
I think it was a Glock 19. I don't remember the generation.
Okay. And explain what you mean by generation.
Glock has like a generation 1 through 5, just different years, just like how you like different year models of like a car, for instance.
Understood.
I hate when the cops don't bring their notes up in there.
Were you present when that firearm was located?
Yes.
Excuse me, just 1 second.
I know when the defendant took his ass home and realized he didn't have his gun, he shit bricks.
When the firearm was found, did you have any involvement with that firearm?
I went to where the firearm was located, stood around it, make sure nothing was tampered with. We let crime scene investigation take some photos of it. Once they were done with their part, they picked it up carefully, not to disrupt any DNA or fingerprints that could be on it. Found the serial number, and I used my police radio to call dispatch to see if they could run the serial number and make sure if it was stolen or not.
To show you what I've marked as state's exhibits number 14.16 through 14.22. You take a look at those photographs, let me know if you recognize what's contained in them.
You go from 14.16 through 14.22?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, that's the clock firearm.
All right, and you look at them to yourself and let me know when you're finished. Do you recognize what's contained in those photographs?
Apart from the pistol,
No, just generally when you look at the photographs, do you recognize what those photographs are?
Yes.
Okay, and what are they? What are the photographs?
It's Glock 19 Gen 5 with a mounted light and appears to be a full magazine of bullets.
Let me ask you, is this the Glock 19 millimeter handgun that you observed and ultimately ran the serial number on February 7th of 2023?
Yes.
Do those photographs appear to be a true and accurate representation of that firearm?
Yes.
All right, Judge, I'd move to admit
State's exhibits number 14.16 to 14.22.
I'm sorry, put them out of order.
State's Exhibit 14.16 to 14.22 are admitted without objection.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. Judge Van, move to publish. Thank you. And you can go on to it right there.
Oh, okay.
Could you put up the first one, 14.16, for me, please?
All right, and could you zoom in there to the middle of the photograph just so we can see? Officer, what are we looking at here?
It's a Glock 19 that's covered up by some brush.
All right, and if we can go to the next one. All right, and again, this one, 14.17.
What is it we're looking at here?
Oh, same pistol, just different angle.
Different angle. All right, and the next one, 14.18.
Zoomed in version of the same pistol.
All right, next one. All right, and what are we looking at here?
The pistol with all the pine straw taken off of it.
All right, and so here on the end, you described that on, what is that on underneath the barrel portion right here? It's labeled TLR7. What is that?
It's a flashlight.
A flashlight. Have you ever operated a firearm that has a light like that?
Yes.
All right, how does it function?
There's on that particular one, I'm not quite sure, but the ones I've dealt with, there's usually two switches. One kind of like a permanent on switch, and another one's just like a flick that you take it, push it down with your thumb, and then when you release it, it turns off.
Okay. Are those used to, I guess, illuminate the area where you're pointing the firearm?
Yes.
Okay. We go to the next photograph, 14.20. All right, here what are we looking at?
Same pistol. They just took, by they, I mean CSI, crime scene investigation, took out the magazine.
All right, and was the magazine, go ahead to the next one, 14.21.
Sorry.
All right, 14.21, the picture here, what are we looking at?
The magazine that came from the Glock,
Is that
what
the
appears
bullets?
to be full of 9mm bullets.
Okay, so
Or
What's
rounds.
these bullets?
this appears to have live 9mm ammunition in it?
Yes.
Okay. And the last one, 14.22? All right, and again, what are we looking at here?
The same pistol, just flipped over.
All right. You were responsible for taking this firearm and
Running the serial. Does every firearm have a serial number?
They should.
Okay. Well, it is Is it federal law that every firearm has to have a serial number?
Yes.
All right. Did this firearm have a serial?
Yes.
And did you run that serial number? Did you run the serial number?
I had radio. The way it works is when I'm away from the computer, I found the serial number, read it with my radio to give to dispatch, who then ran it through NCIC, and then whatever return that NCIC gave to dispatch, they would then tell me over the radio the result of that.
Okay. All right. What is NCIC?
Was it a national crime?
It's okay if you don't remember. It's all right.
Oh my
What is the
God.
purpose?
It's a database
be
that
embarrassed.
the federal government uses to track stolen
ease up
items,
on these
cars,
officers.
firearms.
Okay.
Things like
What
that.
was the purpose of you running the serial or having dispatch run that serial number through NCIC?
Just to make sure if it was stolen or not.
All right. And did you get a return after giving the serial number to the dispatcher?
Yes.
And what was the return?
Return stolen.
All right. Did you receive any information as to whom reported it stolen?
If I'm sure radio told me, but I don't remember what they told me. I think it wasn't until I got back to my car where I was actually able to look and see who it was stolen to.
Okay. And so did you do that? Did you go back to your car and actually look up the results on the return?
I'm sure I did, but I don't remember.
You don't recall who it was, who reported it stolen?
I don't recall.
That's okay.
Why
Officer,
can you
those are
break
the only
his
questions I
notes?
have
Oh
for
my
you.
God, that infuriates me.
I don't have any questions.
Your question, may we release this witness?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If the attorneys will approach, court reporter Sheila, she's taken everything down. She has to get an accurate record of everything that's said in the
This
courtroom.
the guy that found the body.
So
The
I'm
remains,
going to ask
skeletal
you to
remains.
kind of come forward toward the microphones. She can't see if you nod your head or say or so we may say, is that a yes or is that a no? There's water right here if you would like some. The attorneys are going to ask you questions and you might anticipate their questions and you may try to answer them. But if you start talking at the same time the attorneys are talking, my court reporter can't take down both of you and she has to decide. So I'm going to ask you to let the attorneys finish whatever they're saying, their questions, and then answer, okay?
All right.
All right.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you state your name for the court?
Matthew Gilbert,
Mr. Gilbert, can you spell your last name?
Gilbert.
And sir, what city do you live in?
Winder,
How long have you lived in Winder?
24 years.
Did you grow up in that area?
I did not. Lawrenceville.
Lawrenceville? Okay. So did you spend your whole life in Gwinnett, Farrell?
Almost.
How old are you?
I'm 48 or 47.
47 or 48?
48 at the end of this week.
Okay. Happy early birthday.
Thank you.
And sir, what do you do for a living?
Remodeling?
Do you have your own business?
Yes, ma'am.
And what type of vehicles do you own?
I
Exactly,
have
Ronnie.
an 04 F-250, 2015
What was he
Subaru
really doing
Forester,
out there in the woods, okay?
and an 87 Suzuki Samurai.
And do you like to do what we call off-roading for fun?
Yes, ma'am.
Explain to us what off-roading is.
We either go to a set of trails that you pay for to ride, or simply just find a dirt road or a trail on the side of the road while driving.
How long have you done that?
My whole life.
And what of those three vehicles that you listed, which vehicles do you use for the off-roading?
The Samurai.
Tell us what's a Samurai look like?
Miniature version of a Jeep.
And do you remember back on February 6th of 2023 going off-roading?
I do.
Now, they do a lot of that in Texas, though.
I had just dropped my daughter off earlier that day and was basically not wanting to go home. Nobody was home, so I had the day off and went and drove around off-roading to where they're building a big development.
Okay. The off-roading, what area did you do that in?
Around the Drowning Creek area and some dirt roads off of the Drowning Creek area.
Do you know what city that's in? Or
It's-
what's near?
Auburn, it's right on the Gwinnett County line for Auburn and Barrow County.
What road were you driving? You said Drowning Creek. What road? What intersection with Drowning Creek?
The 316.
And how did you choose that area?
I used to go there years ago when I was in high school.
What did you do when you were in high school? Go.
Off-roading, dirt bikes,
Okay.
four-wheelers.
So you'd
trucks.
been to that area before.
Yes.
And that day, what vehicle were you driving?
That day, the Suzuki Samurai.
I'm going to show you a photograph that's been marked as case 52. You can take a moment and look at this photograph. Do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your vehicle?
Yes, it is.
And is that the area, is that a true and accurate picture of your vehicle and the area that you went voting on February 6th of 2023?
It is.
You're not sorry, Tender States 52?
No objection.
States 52 is admitted without objection.
Permission to publish States 52?
Yes, certainly. And so you've got a screen right here you can look at.
Okay.
And this is your vehicle here?
It is.
Can the jury see that? Do I need? It's good, okay.
Okay, your vehicle, this is the Suzuki Samurai.
Correct.
I see a lot of mud on it. Is that from that day or was that on there before?
It was from that day.
Okay. The roof, explain to us the vehicle, how the setup is and how the roof and the doors work. Does it come off?
The roof does come off. It's just a soft top, kind of like a convertible,
Okay,
held on with buttons.
okay. And that day when you're driving, you had it on?
I did.
How is the noise level driving in that?
Very, very loud.
And if we could zoom out on that? And tell us where this location is that we see your vehicle.
That is several hundred yards east of Drowning Creek on the right-hand side of 316.
Okay. And we see a little clearing between the trees.
Yes.
What is that?
That's just a old road that dead-ended.
Okay. Is that where you went down?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you find that location when you were in high school and you guys first found it?
Well, this location I did not. Directly across the street is where we used to go, and I was actually on the way home when I passed this road, and I decided to turn around and go back because I had never been down it.
When you're going off-roading, what are you looking for? Are you
And anything exciting?
okay? Do you usually do it by yourself or you do it with other people?
By myself or both. Both.
Okay.
Yes.
And that day when you went down that road, when you go back in those woods, tell us what it looks like. Is it a full road that you could go on, or is there trees blocking your way?
There was one tree down, a small one, but then it just ended into piles of leftover debris from years past.
How far do you think you drove back in those woods?
I'll say 200 to 300 yards. It's not very long.
Did you stay on that path or did you go deeper in the woods?
I stopped to get out to look, and as I was walking back, my phone had rang.
Okay. So you got out of your vehicle.
I did, and I just walked around while on the phone.
Okay. You remember who you were talking to?
My sister.
And why did you get out of the vehicle?
I cannot hear while on the phone while driving, so
Okay.
I needed to speak to her about my mother.
Okay. What was going on with your mom?
She was in the hospital at the time and sick, and my father was at home bedridden.
Sorry to hear that. When you got out, you said you're on the phone. What did you do while you're on the phone?
I just walked in kind of circles.
Okay. Where was your vehicle?
Still at the end of the road. I just left it there.
How long do you think your phone call was?
I'll say 20, 25 minutes.
And at some point while you're on the phone with your sister and walking around the woods, did you find something?
Yes, I stepped over a log and found the remains.
And specifically, when you said remains, what did you see?
Specifically, I found a human skull.
Did you know right then that it was human?
Yes.
How?
Very undeniably human. This.
When you saw the skull, sir, what did you do?
Well, I hung up the phone and called 911.
At that point, could you tell if this was male or female?
No,
And you said you called 911.
I did.
Did you stay in the woods?
I went back to get my vehicle to bring it out so that they would be able to see it on the side of the road. and then stayed on the edge of the wood line.
We see here in states 50 to the vehicle. Is that where you parked it?
It wasn't the first time, but they had a little bit of trouble finding me, so I moved it out to the closer to the road in that location sideways so they could see it.
You said you saw a skull. Did you see anything else?
There were bones scattered throughout the woods.
Sir, did you touch those?
No, ma'am.
Did you take any of the bones?
No, ma'am.
Hell no.
Did you end up talking to the police officers?
I did.
And how long do you think you waited for officers
Thank you
to
for
arrive?
doing your
About,
service, sir.
I'll
Being a
say
civilian.
20 or so minutes, give or take.
And once the officers arrived, what happened?
We walked into the woods. I showed them where the remains were, and they immediately had everybody get out, go get tape and tape off the area. And I went back to the front with an officer and gave him my name and number and information.
Okay. Did you see any clothing there?
No, ma'am.
Did you see any personal items
Nothing.
besides the remains, the bones? Did you see anything else there other than leaves and trees?
No, ma'am.
How long, how far do you think it takes from average walking from where your vehicle is to where you get to the remains?
Maybe a minute, if probably not that long.
How far into the woods do you think they were?
Less than 100 yards.
Did you, how long do you think you stayed at the scene once the officers arrived?
Minutes. I showed them, walked back out, name and information, and left right away.
Had you ever seen anything like that before other than on TV or?
No, ma'am.
And did you ever learn who those remains belonged to?
Yes, the next day.
How did you learn?
I was paying attention to the news, wanting to know.
And on July 26, 2022, do you remember where you were that day?
I do, only from some help, but I was in Tuskegee, Alabama.
Okay. What were you in Tuskegee for?
My wife's grandfather's funeral.
They was able to
were
identify the
driving
bones
through
the next
Tuskegee.
day?
Yes.
Other than you talking to
Y'all, this is the second chair prosecutor. The first chair lead attorney prosecutor is the man, 50 Shades of Gray. And then it's a second chair. And that's who this is. And then it's the woman who y'all talking about, who I was asking about the weed on the defense.
the officers for a few minutes that day. Did you have anything else to do with this investigation?
No, ma'am. Nobody ever
Ronnie
called.
Q, let this man make it. I am so grateful for his little country ass now.
I have no questions.
I am grateful
Thank you.
for him now.
Mrs. Witness? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank
you very much.
It could have been a lot more people, children come up missing if this man wouldn't have been caught. We're looking at a young serial killer on the
Ladies and
make.
gentlemen,
Okay.
we're going to break for lunch.
Now look here,
Then
this
Gwinnett
man right
County's
here.
Gonna buy them lunch.
I don't know if y'all noticed this man right here the whole trial. This man right here, I don't know if he officially the court greeter. But this man been sitting here every day of the trial. He didn't officially made this his seat. And everybody that come in and go out, he got something to say. He got, you know. I don't know. I don't know if that's his official capacity. Them people in church, you know how they got the people in church that act like they got designated seating. You know what I'm saying? Like they just got to sit at the end of this pew every Sunday, and if you dare sit there, it's gonna be a problem. That's this man, okay? Now, Ronnie Q, I thought the man that found the body was a real weirdo too, but I got in my feelings, right? I got in my feelings and got grateful for that man and his oddities driving off the road, because you know who this girl body would have never been found, right? It would have, I mean, this would have still been an open case, a cold case, you know. And I just think that this man over here, Miles Bryant, I think he was a serial killer in the making. You can't make me believe otherwise. You know, he's so young, and the way, as we keep listening to the trial and we keep listening to like more evidence that come out, y'all just keep tuning in. I promise y'all, it's gonna trip y'all out some of the things that he done done, right? Maybe he is the family advocate. Yeah, maybe he the family advocate, child, because he now I had just pulled myself together, Star Bell. Why are you making me think about this little man right here? Okay. And baby, the bailiffs in this court is the most comfortable bailiffs I have ever seen in court ever. These bailiffs look like they must got somebody at the door who is on point, armed, and dangerous, because they are relaxed. Okay, they sitting back, they comfortable, they got their feet up. She got her bottle of water. Okay, they are very comfy up in here. So that brings us to the end of tonight. Let me just give y'all a little teaser, right? They got lazy boy recliners, right? Do you think, let me see. So let's talk about a couple of things here. So tonight we are now in the investigative portion of the trial. Okay, the law enforcement, the investigation. Boom. Winter says, do you think she was unalived in the woods or someplace else and he lost his gun dumping there? You know what? I don't think he would take her to his house. That's too dangerous, right? He lived right there. People know him. I don't think he would have took her to a place, right? I think that he probably took her in these woods, because once he had her in his car, right, and made any type of advance on her, at that moment, he had to have known he had to go ahead and unalive her. Once he literally got her in his car, made any type of sexual advance to her or whatever that she can go back and tell, that's when he had to make the choice to unalive her. And if he had made up in his mind as soon as he got in the car, you know, to violate her even further, you know, I mean, I don't know. I think he took her off in the woods. I don't know where he violated her at, you know what I'm saying? But I do think he dropped that gun, putting her body in the woods. I can't see him just driving around and taking it, walking her, marching her out into the woods and then doing that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where. I don't know. But I think he dropped that gun, like you said, now Winter, with putting her body there. And if he did take her out into the woods and she was still alive, you know, then I think he might have put the gun down after he like had rendered her well, she couldn't fight back, and then the gun, you know, put the gun down and kicked it or something. I don't know. Meaning in his vehicle after he did whatever else he did to her. He did have a truck, you know what I'm saying? So maybe he took advantage of her in the truck, and then he went and dumped the body out there. That makes sense. And he dropped the gun while doing that. Now, don't forget, I keep saying this, but doing the opening statements, the state said, yeah, and once it was super dark, and it was super dark. Once he dropped it, he couldn't find it. Right. And the state said during this opening statements, they said once they started investigating that gun, you know, and investigating him, the cell phone records show that he was in those woods by the body the night of for about 2 to 3 hours. Now, that's what make me think he violated her out there in the woods. Because it's not like he buried the body. So why was he out there with the girl in the woods at that spot for 2 to 3 hours? See what I'm saying? Now, the cell phone records we're going to find out, the state, they also said, shows that he was in the woods by the body right there for 2 or 3 hours the night she went missing. And then he went back to this same location the next morning. And y'all know already when he went back that next morning, he was going to look for that goddamn gun. Oh, that might be why he was out there for 2 or 3 hours. He probably dropped the gun and kicked it or something, and it was super dark and he couldn't find it. And he was probably out there looking for it for all that damn time, because that's a long time to be out there, you know. And then that's why he went back the next morning and couldn't find it. Baby, there's a lot going on. Now, next week when we start back up, I'm wondering, did he use the powwow? I know, right? But if I know one thing, when they say the forensics and stuff like that, they couldn't tell the manner of death because it wasn't no type of gunshot on the evidence on the bones on the skeleton. But that don't mean the bullet couldn't have went through the body, and they don't have no proof because it was just a skeleton, right? You know, but a lot of times too, these type of offenders and perpetrators, they also like to do a lot of strangulation. It's something about that intimacy and that feeling of literally doing that with their hands. You know what I'm saying? That's unfortunate, but I don't know. But a lot of times when I be watching this kind of stuff, it seems to be strangulation is the way to go with these type of perverts. You know? Now, mind you, I want to know what he did with her clothes. And if somebody, I know Living saw this trial, I know Ronnie Q saw some of it, I saw it, but I can't remember. Don't nobody tell me, but I can't remember if they ever found some clothes or what he did. I can't remember. But we gonna hear some other examples of his fuckery. Okay? And when we listen to these other examples of his fuckery, besides me asking the question, what went wrong? Do y'all think he would have done it again? I'm going to start asking the question, damn, nobody thought this shit was strange? Damn, nobody saw the warning signs? Now, I don't think that was the actual police issue gun, but I think some of those cops, I know they could use their gun, their personal gun. Now, we're going to find out more about that. Next week, we're going to see the interrogation. We're going to see the body cam footage of when he actually made the report of his stolen gun. That's real interesting. We're going to hear from that girl whose phone he went into and got her naked pictures. And we're going to hear from this young black girl that I'm not going to tell y'all, and y'all don't go look it up. Don't forget, it's a playlist. If you missed any parts of this or you want to go back and check it out and listen, you know, or what have you, it is a playlist. It says State of Georgia versus Miles Bryant. All right. And this brings us to the end of Night Court for this particular week. Okay. But stay tuned in and meet me right back here, same place, same time on Monday night for Night Court. Y'all have a great, great night, and thank y'all for all y'all support. Good night. Probably didn't show that side of himself around his fellow officers. Right. Good night, Renee. Right. But stay tuned in, Miss F219. You're going to see why I said, didn't it get some type of advance warning? Stay tuned in. More will be revealed.
Thanks for watching. Do not forget click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Like, comment and share. See you next time.